In this lesson, we're going to talk about a tool that will help your kids become more capable, independent, and responsible. That's good for them, and it's good for you. First, think about all the things, big and small, you do for your kids throughout the day. What if your kids could handle 25% of those things all on their own? How much time and frustration would that free up for you? My bet is your kids can do well more than 25% of what you're currently doing for them. And we can make that happen if we use one of the most important tools in the toolbox, which is take time for training. Before I get to the specifics of this important tool, let me share a quote from Dr. Rudolf Dreikurs, who I've mentioned before was an early advocate of Adlerian principles. Dr. Dreikurs said, "Never do for a child what she can do for herself." Think about that for a minute. Never do for a child what she can do for herself. When we do things for our kids that they're perfectly capable of doing for themselves, it's discouraging for them. It's basically saying, I don't have any faith or confidence that you can do this, so I need to do it for you. That's not the message we want to send because our kids are far more capable than we often realize. To start this discussion about training, let's take a look at a parent role play on the topic of training, and then we'll come back together and talk about how it relates to your family. Okay, guys, in this exercise, we're going to do 2 rounds. It's really easy. All you have to do is listen to my instructions and do whatever I tell you to do. Okay, everybody ready? We're going to start round 1 now. Don't sit down. Don't close your mouth. Don't open your mouth. Don't look at me. Don't look at your neighbor. Don't stand still. Don't move around. Don't stand up. Okay, that was the end of round 1. Let's start with round 2. Stand up. Open your mouth. Close your mouth. Look at your neighbor. Look at me. Move around, stand still, sit down. So how is round 1 different from round 2?
Harder.
Why, Jesse?
Well, you were telling us the opposite. Well, you were telling us what to do, but using the negatives, and so you had to think more about what it was you were saying.
Had to think more. What else?
It was confusing because you were just saying what not to do. You weren't saying what we should be doing. Don't look at your neighbor. Okay, what do you want me to look at?
Somewhat frustrating, right?
Yes.
So you're not sure what to do, follow the instructions, and then you started round 2, and I was confused because I was used to hearing you say don't do it. So it's kind of hard to switch your brain and say, oh wait, I am supposed to be doing this now.
Absolutely. So tell me about round 2 then. What was that like?
So much easier.
Yes.
Why was it easier?
It was very direct. We knew exactly what to do.
Okay. Any other thoughts from round 2?
It felt more like, I guess, just almost like a game than walking on eggshells.
Okay.
It was one specific task,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it was easy to follow the directions.
One specific task, because isn't that the truth? With the don't commands, you had to process twice. What does she not want me to do? All right, and then what does she want me to do instead? So it is really confusing for kids.
And it was also painting a really vivid picture of what you didn't want me to do.
Tell me more about that.
So you told me not to stand up, but now I'm picturing standing up. So what you didn't want me to do was what I was seeing first,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, so we're focusing on the negative rather than focusing on what
I'm not supposed to do this, but this is what I'm seeing, yeah.
So can you think of situations in real life where we do this? Like, what are some examples?
Don't run in the house.
Don't run in the house.
Don't touch anything in this store.
Yes.
Or bathroom.
Or whatever you do, don't touch the toilet, right? Any other examples?
Don't play with your sister's toys.
Don't play with your sister's toys, yes.
Or don't be holding whatever it is that you're already holding.
So think about in situations where they really need you to pay attention, like on an airplane, right? When they tell you, when they're giving you the safety instructions, they don't say, now, don't put on your child's safety mask before you put on yours. They tell you exactly what they want you to do. Put your safety mask on first and then help your child. So, Any other examples of that you can think of?
At our neighborhood pool, kids are always running on the wet concrete, and the lifeguards always say, I've noticed this, they always say walk. They never say don't run. They blow the whistle and they say walk.
Good one. Awesome. So again, that just makes us think about our communication, especially with kids who have so much to learn to begin with. It really does make a difference, the words that we use. So the more that we can focus on telling them what we want them to do, rather than using the negative, it's going to be easier for them to understand, and they're going to be more likely to cooperate. In the role play, you saw that parents struggled to follow the don't commands. And the reason for that is when we give don't commands, our kids have to double process. First, they have to think, what does she not want me to do? And then, what should I do instead? So it's a double process, and it's confusing for kids, especially young ones. The other problem with don't commands is when we say, you can sit here, but don't touch your sister. We put that exact thought right in her mind, and she instinctively wants to antagonize her sister. If you think about a typical day with your kids, how many times during the course of the day do you give don't commands? Don't run in the house while your sister's sleeping. Don't put your elbows on the table. Don't drive too fast. Whatever it is, we seem to constantly be giving don't commands instead of stating exactly what we want kids to do. Instead, let's give do commands. Tell them exactly what we want them to do. Please use soft walking feet while your sister's sleeping. Please keep your elbows by your side while you're at the table. Please notice the speed limit is 50 on this road. Do commands are more clear and more encouraging and will deliver better results. Here's another common communication snafu: stating our commands in the form of a question. Are you ready to leave for school now? Are you ready to get your shoes on? No, I'm good. Are you going to be home at 10 o'clock tonight? Probably not, because I'm driving everyone home after the movies. We do this with the best of intentions, trying to be polite, right? But when we pose a question about issues which are really directives, we give kids the option to say no. When you need for your kids to do something and there isn't a choice about it, state it calmly with a smile and directly. It's time to leave for school now. Please put your shoes on. There's less ambiguity and you'll get better results. Now, let's get into the tool for this lesson. Take time for training. We need to train our kids to be capable of doing different tasks, and we have to recognize that this takes time and energy on our part. It's a lot like mind, body, and soul time. When you put the time and energy in on the front end, you definitely get rewards on the back end. The reason it's so important to take time for training goes back to the very first premise we talked about with Adlerian psychology. A child's deepest emotional need is to belong and feel significant. Training is all about significance. When we train our kids on big, important grown-up tasks, it helps them feel capable and independent. They feel like they have more power and control over their own world. They also know they're contributing in meaningful ways. They make a difference. Training is all about helping our kids feel significant and powerful. It's also about taking a few monkeys off our back. Early on, we talked about the balance of responsibilities and privileges in the home and how it's somewhat out of balance these days. When we train our kids to do tasks that we're currently doing for them, it takes some of the burden off of us, and it creates a more appropriate balance between privileges and responsibilities. Let's talk about what you can train your kids to do. In your Session 2 workbook, you'll find a list of jobs for kids by age. Even an 18-month-old can turn a light switch on and off when you pick her up or you carry her into the room. On the other hand, a 16-year-old can take part in planning menus or balancing the family checkbook. Take a look at the list and consider which tasks your kids could take on. Now, in your workbook for each of your kids, make a list of the tasks they could do if properly trained. This is sometimes a little bit confusing. These aren't things they're already doing. They're things they could be doing if they had the appropriate training. Also, on your Jobs for Kids list, look at tasks for your kids' age, but also look at the younger ages, because you may find some things on those lists that your kids aren't yet competent in, but certainly could be. Your list for each child will become your training action plan. And then in the next lesson, we'll cover important tips for training success, including which training tasks to start with to avoid power struggles. I'll see you there.